What's up? What's good? It's Tim Owen, your hood. Thank you for joining us on Mr. Meaningful Work Retain, a big energy conversation about engaging and retaining your people. Let me introduce you to Quentin Allums, aka Just Q, aka the man in the hat, aka the guy I've been wanting to have a conversation with for a long time. Q is a social experimenter, content creator, social media influencer, and just an all-around cool guy who's learned to survive through major disruptions. Now, although Q is not directly tied to HR, he knows a thing or two about leaning into your strengths and pursuing opportunities that align with what you feel your purpose is, or leaving opportunities that don't. Both things tie directly to how leaders should be thinking about creating environments where their teams are inspired to stay. And I can't wait for you to hear our conversation. But before we get started, I just have to give a very special shout out to Spark for sponsoring this season of the Retain podcast. I'm sure that you would agree that at the core of retention and reducing turnover is engagement and recognition. And Spark has found the magic that blends industry verified research, human-centeredness, and cutting-edge technology to really help leaders connect with their teams in ways that inspire them to stay. Please check them out at sparkco.com/Mr. Meaningful Work. That's Spark, SPARCK, co.com/Mr. Meaningful Work, and let them know that I sent you. But for now, let's jump into the show. All right, so we are here with the great, the hatted up, the chill, the dapper, he's a fancy guy, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Quentin Michael Allums. How you doing, my brother?
I'm better now, man. Thank you for using my full name too. I feel like nobody does. I appreciate that.
It's there. Like it's like folks who just be scared. It's like, nah, he doesn't want to.
Nah, I'm not gonna use that. I'm good though, man. How are you?
Yeah. But dude, how? First of all, where are you? And what were you doing before we hopped on this call?
Oh, do you really want to know?
Yeah.
I'm in Denver, Colorado. Just moved here 3 months ago, and I was playing Valorant right before this call. It's like a first-person shooter, tactical shooter. I was performing really bad, so this is a good break.
This is a good break. My man was raging. No.
Oh yeah.
Yo, I wanted to start gaming because my little brother doesn't, and I see all these, like anytime I open up YouTube, there's all these PUBG, is it
PUBG?
Yeah. And Call of Duty and all this stuff. So I was like, let me get into it. Let me at least be conversational, in the game. I am all about social capital, and if this is the currency of social capital for this particular group, let me at least become fluent. So I downloaded, and I'm just playing it on the phone and sucking, like dying before like the drop, like I'm just coming down and I'm dead before I hit the ground. And then I start seeing like there's a whole claw procedure. There's like folks that are like teamed up in different countries. I was like, no, we're good.
It's intense,
so
man.
I hung up my my first person shooter, but I'll leave it to you, man. But dude, I am so excited to be talking to you. I've been following your work for a long time. You are the work that you do by way of like social experiments and what you're doing with the leadership School of Greatness has just been super motivational for me. But before we get into any of that, we're doing something fun. We're doing something new. Folks need to take themselves so seriously. I always ask my guests in the previous iteration of my podcast, the Late Afternoon Show, I would ask all my guests, what are you famous for? But that abbreviates in a very Urban Dictionary type of way. WR, what are you famous for? Rough. Yeah. So I want you to give me your biggest big dog bark, your big dog rough and then tell me what
Before
you're
I
famous
go,
for.
I just want to say my dog is like right out there, so I hope he doesn't bark back.
He's gonna be like,
Let me see actually. No, I didn't say it.
yo, I love the cone and the echo. Like my man was gonna give it the full effect. The dog
I
is
just
like,
wanted him to bark back.
yeah, yeah. He's probably thinking like, yo, they cussing me
He's like,
out in
what
there.
is
Like, what are they
what is
talking?
wrong with this dude? Like,
He's like, that's not even how you say that word, okay? Like, you're not even saying it right. Come on.
oh,
Well, yo, so what are you famous for,
that's
my brother?
um honestly, like I want to say something else, but I know it's just the hats, man. It's the hats. That's what people know me for.
Call it as it is. That's what
Say it out.
you know. Thank you for saying that, because a lot of times when I ask a question, I think folks' mind automatically goes to like, you know, brand and profession and career and things like that. And it's like that's cool. It doesn't have to be that, but like if folks see or hear Q, what do they see or hear? And if it's the hats and then whatever comes with it, like for me, it's storytelling. I tell very energetic stories, and I'm a taco fiend. So anybody that knows Tim knows stories and tacos, stories and tacos. But dude, thank you so much. What are you excited about these days? Like, what are some of the things that you're working on? What gets your heart racing? What are you looking forward to?
Honestly, I'm excited about my work, but I think I'm more excited about living. Just really living my life, learning how to snowboard. I'm terrible at it, but it's one of the best feelings I've ever felt. Hiking, like just living more. I think that's the biggest things. And building my creator business around my want to live more and work less, man. Yeah, man. Just excited about everything. More, and my T-Wolves are in the playoffs, bro, and the Bucks, dude. And the Nuggets. Like, we good.
Yo, have you been? Was Nuggets recently? This is like within the last few months that Nuggets, or were you a Nuggets fan prior?
I'm not even a Nuggets fan, but it's cool being around the energy.
Yeah,
I'm a T-Wolves fan, and then Bucks because I was in Milwaukee for a decade.
Yeah.
But honestly, Lakers were my team until LeBron went there. But
yeah. And what, like I went to school with folks from Ohio, and I mean they swore up and down by LeBron James, and the Cavaliers and the whole thing. And then as soon as it came to LA, it was like.
Like I respect him. I just
that's loyalty,
big,
right? Like
that's Kobe fan, you know.
Yeah. But and you have probably done more in Denver. I used to live in Denver as well. You have taken full advantage. I never hiked in Denver, and I never snowboarded or did any snow sports in Denver. Can you believe that?
How long were you here?
Like 5 or 6 years.
Damn, man, I went like the first week. That's wild.
Like, what a waste. What a waste.
I'm about to get the Epic Pass. I'm going to be a pro if you ever come down here, man. We're going to go.
Yeah. I was supposed to be out there next week, but we'll have to do a different time. But yeah, so let us talk about what's going on in the world today. We're going to talk about retention. We're going to talk about engagement. We're going to talk a little bit about what you're doing in your space right now, kind of your origin story. If you would, and what led you to what you're doing now and how that ties into the conversation that we're trying to have around how to help leaders. We're talking specifically to HR leaders and people leaders within organizations that are trying to figure out, how do I get my folks motivated to stay? How do I engage them in this time? And so I wanted to get your unique perspective on that, but just to make sure that we're current with the times and what's going on in the world today, we're going to put our finger on the pulse, open up Twitter here, and see what is going on in the world at this time. If I'm to go to my my trending, I mean, obviously big news right now is Elon trying to buy up Twitter. Just hostile takeover, or maybe not so hostile.
I hope he does.
Can you imagine somebody just having just the cash like, I'll buy your whole company right now? All right, so we have, for example, Meghan Markle just wore an outfit straight off the runway. You're all about fashion, right? Would you consider yourself a pretty fashion forward guy?
I am, but like I was saying, like live and work, I feel like my work has always gotten in the way of fashion. People are always like, like I love the way you dress, but what they were really saying is like, I love your hat. It's always been that way, but I like I have this image, of what I want to look like. Like I love aesthetics. I love clothes. So I'm really diving into just fashion and what certain colors mean and how to
Yes.
really put together something. But
Yes.
yeah,
Yo,
not there yet, but soon.
I have a vest here. So I'm 34 now. I think it was on my 33rd birthday. My mom got me a bunch of these. She got me 33 of these. These like lapels, like these flower
Oh, okay,
lapels.
okay. What
And
is it on? Oh, it's on a
this is a
vest. Yeah, yeah.
vest. This is just a
Okay.
vest. I
For some
was
reason, I thought it was a sock. I was like, what is? I just saw a thin piece of it. Just,
we
oh,
start wearing lapels on socks. I mean, we already got folks to wear the high waters just so they can show their socks, but then we add the additional accessory. Bro, we
hey, man,
might
next
be
wave,
on to
man.
something.
TikTok right there.
But what I noticed, to your point about like the hats, is I started putting this on all my vests, all my suits. I normally wear a suit when I go into work, and I used to wear suits before. But as soon as I put this little bad boy on, I was like, oh man, Tim, you're dressed so nice. Oh, you look so good. But what they're really saying is, we like your flower. We like your lapel. So
But
it
they
can be
don't
like the
know they're saying
smallest
that.
things.
They
Huh?
don't know they're saying that. That's the thing. Like they don't know that. To
Yeah.
them, it's like I really like it out, but
Yeah.
it's the small little
Yeah.
details.
We know. We know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that is what's going on. Apparently, this is top of Twitter right now. Is Meghan Markle just found an outfit. Meghan Markle attended the Invictus Games alongside her husband Prince Harry, and she was wearing things that were right off. Is it Milan? Milan Fashion Week? Milan
Mhm.
Fashion Week runway. So that's what's going on. That's what people are talking about today. So we know what's on the hearts and minds. We always want to know what's on the hearts and minds. But getting back to other important things, not saying that that's not important. Other important things is talk to us a little bit about your origin story, man. For anybody that has followed Q, you will know after he has that. What is that thing that you do where like all your like flashback of pictures comes up before you start talking? Like it's like,
Burst, yeah.
yeah, that burst like this is and then he talks about the history. He talks about some of the experiments he's doing. Check him out on LinkedIn. Very active on LinkedIn. But yeah, talk to us a little bit about quick origin story, what you were doing, what you're doing now, and then we'll map it to this retention conversation we're having.
Yeah, it's crazy how that answer changes over the years.
Mm.
I was a singer-songwriter for a long time, um, and I think that's just helpful context, like the way that I view brand, aesthetic,
Yeah.
things like that. But got into marketing, got into tech, worked for people, was offered a job at a college, but I was like, yo, I'm going to be an entrepreneur because I'm smart and I'm going to change the world. Launched a VR startup that failed within 6 months because I had no idea how to do anything in virtual reality. But I tried to teach myself,
But it was cool. It was
yeah,
cool,
it was
right?
cool, like
Yeah.
big ego boost.
Yeah.
Like I'm a VR founder.
Yeah.
So not even a real company. Launched
Yeah.
my first agency after that. Bounced around all over the place trying to help different people, different niches, different verticals, different services, honestly. Finally, like kind of found my lane in personal branding. Throughout all of that, I was like recording these videos every single day, just talking about my life because I wanted to get good at it. I'm like, yo, if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you need to be able to pitch yourself, you need to be able to talk on camera, you got to be able
Yeah.
to tell stories, all
Yeah.
the normal stuff.
Yeah.
That none of the above went well. No views, no money, no clients, until one day after bouncing on all these different platforms, I moved to LinkedIn. Like things just started popping.
Mm.
Found some success on like a platform called Askwell, but it failed, so
Mhm.
nothing came of that.
Yeah.
But started getting the success, went from like, no money in your bank account to let's go travel the world and speak
Yeah.
on stages and do these things, and you're gonna have these big clients. Ended up launching a new agency with another group of friends and actually a couple strangers, honestly.
Yeah.
We had no idea what we were doing. Looking back, we made so many mistakes. I'm still like paying from some of those mistakes financially. Like I'm fine, everything's great.
Yeah.
But that company, like outside looking in, it's like, wow, you're successful. You've got this huge client over here and that client, and you're traveling the world and you're doing this. So
Yeah.
my life was like a complete 180. And then just everything that happened in the world happened, some personal things,
Yeah.
decided to close that down. And then I just kind of drifted, launched a podcast where I was just doing like narrative, story-based. Lewis Howes was my first guest. That led to a job where I was leading the marketing team with School of Greatness, which is one of the biggest podcasts in the world. Did that for a year. And then I just hit me. I was like, everything's been about checking off the next goal, you know, like next box. Like it's just always about achievement and money. And I just really want to live, you know, like I was saying before. So moved to Denver, quit that job. And now I'm just focused on living, but also building a business as a creator that really allows me to just, you know, like find meaning in my work and find meaning in my life.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
Nice.
And a lot of video games too.
And a lot of video games. So did you come out to Denver with a plan like, I am going to Denver, I'm going to start this thing, this is my runway, this is my timeline? Or is it like, hey, we'll go and figure it out as we figure it out?
Honestly, I had clients when I was working with Greatness, like on the side, not a lot, but enough to just like chill and do what I wanted. I kind of put all that on pause with the exception of one. I only made $3,000 that first month, which is nothing. Took some time off, did nothing, but the next it was 11. Now I'll probably hit 20. But I had no plan, you know. I knew I wanted to live, but I never thought I would make that decision twice, because the first time I was just like, we're going to quit this job and figure it out. I think now I'm a lot smarter, so but no plan, honestly.
Man, and one of the things that I wanted to touch on as we talk about retention and engagement is anybody looking in, right, and says, man, you got the job at the School of Greatness, you're working with Lewis, you're doing all these things, like it's like saying you're working at Apple or you're at Google or like all these big companies that seem to offer all the perks and and all these different things, but for whatever reason folks decide to transition out of those organizations. Is there anything that you learned from your experience that you think might resonate with other folks who might be in similar situations at like phenomenal organizations or companies, but are still considering, hey, this might not be the spot for me, I need to transition into something else?
I guess great company, great mission, great podcast. I miss the team like every day, like some of my good friends there. But I knew it wasn't at the moment, like for where I want to go with my life. Like someone had said something once, I was out in LA, and they said, you're not living an abundant, or that's not an abundant mindset to me, which I feel like I've always had an abundant mindset. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, no, I didn't say this, but I was thinking it. And then I really thought about it. I was like, no, I'm actually not living an abundant mindset. I'm not in that mindset. And that's where things mentally started to shift for me. I was like, is this where I want to go? I'm learning a lot. This is an amazing team. I love being here. Dope mission. But I could also be living the life that I want right now. So why am I not living it? And I think if something's wrong and you know something's wrong, or it's not perfect, I don't think anything will be perfect, but it's not right yet. I think you'll know that. Move on. Or I don't think you should quit and just no plan like I had, but like have something light up and then move on. But dude, if you believe in yourself and you know you can make something out of nothing, like for sure, maybe it is just like me, like pick up, go. But just because something's good doesn't mean that it's bad if you want to leave it. Because great is out there too.
Do you think there's things that companies, organizations, or leaders can do? So we're talking about that abundance mindset, right? So that's like the individual that's thinking, hey, I can do more, be more, see more, if I just kind of change the way I'm thinking. Is there anything that leaders or organizations can do to instill that or create an environment where it's easier to think that way, or is it all on the individual?
I think there's a lot of things they can do. Greatness, I think, did a good job of this, but other companies that I've worked for, they say they want people that think like entrepreneurs. They say they want that go-getter mindset, but they don't. They really don't. They don't foster that. You have an idea, they steal that idea, you have an idea. It's like, no, like we're not going to get into that. And they don't
Yeah.
encourage that failure. They don't encourage the entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it, but also just like trusting people with their job as well. Like
Yeah.
I hired you for this. You're really good at it. Go do it. Not like, oh, are you doing this? You know, I think there's a lot there. Trust,
Yeah.
appreciation. Um, there's a lot, and I've probably made every mistake in the book. You know, building my own company and managing employees too. You
Yeah.
know, like it's a very very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But I think trust and appreciation go a long way, and really understanding what your employees want. Like, I don't think I'll ever have employees again because I don't think I'm a good boss. I have a virtual assistant maybe, but
Yeah.
just not a good boss. It's a very, very hard thing to do. But I think when you operate from service versus they're here to help me achieve this thing, I think that's where magic really happens. And if you
Yeah.
trust them to do the job that you brought them into, like that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
people don't need to work every day, all day for a mission. And they shouldn't.
I think that what you just called out, that level of self-awareness of, I may not be the person that has people reporting to me, right? As a people leader or as a boss, you know, you offer a lot of value, maybe, you know, to customers or to your clients or to the community that you work, you know, that you work in. But knowing that, you know, knowing the way that I think and knowing what people need in order to be successful as employees, there's, you know, I probably don't have that. I don't think a lot of leaders are willing to admit that, right? And say, hey, this is probably not for me. I'm probably best served over here. And it's probably running a lot of folks out of organizations because they're not getting that support, that trust. They're not having that consistency and messaging. Like you said, is, hey, if we hired you to be, or if we hired you to have that entrepreneurial go-getter, kind of push the boundaries type of thing, but our actions or our policies or, you know, whatever are kind of restrictive to that, or we're taking advantage, then it's not going to work. So that's, I mean, I think that's big kudos for that recognition there.
I feel like we promote like you just look at sales, like we promote our best salesmen and women, salespeople to be managers, and then they stop selling. Like, but they're really good. I don't understand.
Yeah. Like I
feel like that's across the board, you know. Like,
yeah, somebody that was a really good practitioner is like, does that mean that they are a good leader? Like, can they create? Because I mean, leadership is really about supporting and creating the systems and, you know, holding folks accountable, and those types of things. And if your skill sets aren't there, like, you know, you might as well continue doing what you're doing at a very high level, take ownership and get recognition for that. Well, let's talk about what it is that you are doing. So you are doing a bunch of experiments. Like, is the business experiments, like trying different things out? Are you still doing client work, or what's taking up a good portion of your time these days?
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of client work, but it's only like coaching.
Yeah.
I do. I've got like this new group coaching program. Not sure if I'll continue it, but it's been fun, so we'll see.
Yeah.
And then I have like one-on-one coaching, typically people that want to grow things. But my whole methodology is like the scientific method. It's approaching things like an experiment, whether that's for fun or for business. That's just how I work. You know, that's at Greatness, at my other company, at this company. That's just how I work. Now, outside of those things, what's taking up all of my time right now is just creating the systems and my processes as a creator in my business, so that I can like really scale the right way this time, and not have a lot of the headaches that I had before. But then I'm also hosting social experiments, which is like things like, yo, let's take 30 people, strangers, send them a text, they show up, like, and they talk about like the things that they're struggling with the most, and we film it, we create a video around it. I do that. And then also business experiments, things like, yo, can we grow on TikTok by 1 million followers in 30 days? Go. And more than likely I fail at everything that I do, but I learn a lot, and then I report on them. So I do both of those things. Where the money comes from, it's the product that I just mentioned. It's the one-on-one. I used to have a Snapchat show, that was one. And then content like your traditional like partnerships, things like that. And then randomly there's been a lot of people that have reached out about teaching too. So that has been
teaching, like academic in school?
Not like let me like sit in school and like
Yes.
be a teacher, but like a course type of
Yeah.
thing, or come teach my class type of thing,
Yeah.
which I guess is kind of like teaching, but yeah,
Yeah.
things like that.
What is there to be said? Because I think outside of doing the experiments that you do is the documentation of the experience, the experiments and the learnings that you do. If anybody follows Q, I mean, you'll see he'll lay out the blueprint, right? Like, hey, if there was one of them that you said, like making $10,000.
Yeah, first product, yeah.
Yeah, you making 10,000 and just really lay like the steps. Like I did this, little test, see who was interested, got X amount, like send it out to this many people, X amount responded, was be able to convert this amount. Where did you, at what point did you realize that documenting the process or the learning is important?
Yeah, kind of forever, honestly, just because I learn differently. Like when I was trying to snowboard like recently,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, you should get an instructor. And I know I just don't learn that way unless they're the perfect instructor for me, and no one there was. So I needed to fall, then I needed to sit, and I needed to watch. And I needed to fall again, sit and watch. And I needed to feel the feeling that I needed to feel, right? I needed to know what it's like. Okay, you're turning with your hips. You're like, I needed to know what that felt like. I just learned a little bit differently. I need to see every single thing. And the more information I have, the better I'll be in anything that I'm doing. And then I kept finding that I would tell people, document what you're doing, show your work. And they kept taking it as record everything that you're doing and share, kind of like the Gary Vee document, which isn't what I meant.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to show people exactly what I mean, this process. But the more data you have, the better decisions that you can make. And if you know exactly what you did, you can replicate those results. Other people can replicate your results. And I feel like you'll just be better overall because you know exactly what went into whatever you're doing. But I've been doing it forever, minus like school. When they say show your work, I was terrible at that. I was like, why would I do this?
Like I already know the answer. I just know I know what the answer is. But you got to get. Oh man, you got this triggered me, man. I hate like I would get the question correct and still get like
points docked. Yeah.
Yes, it'll be like 3 out of 5. Tim, show your work. But the answer is right.
It's true.
You see the answer.
I hated it, but it helps. Honestly, it helps. It helps. It really does.
Yeah. But I think, and I think it's good because it shows the, kind of this others mindset. Yeah, there is your learning and your growth and your development. But when other folks are able to see your process and see the learnings that goes into it, they might not resonate with everything, but they're able to see at certain points like, oh, okay, if I want to get this type of result when Q did this is what he got. I can maybe add or modify and make the process easier for somebody else. And so once you have that kind of others mindset, it goes a long way. What would you say is, or have you figured out what your purpose is?
I thought I did. No, I don't think I figured that out. I don't know if I ever will. I know that it involves my curiosity. It involves my voice, because I hear I have a good voice.
You do have a good voice. Yeah. I'm glad you called it out. When we first started, folks, before we even turned the camera on, my man was doing some cool 107.5 like night music. This is night sound. So I was like, dude, you turn your mic on. But yes, you do have a good voice. But something that involves your voice, something that involves your curiosity. What else?
Storytelling and bringing people together.
Yeah.
And my understanding of people. I think ultimately what I want to do is like host experiences in the metaverse. Yeah. And the real world. I just don't know what the purpose is, and I don't think I need to know. I don't think that's my business. I heard someone say that once. He said it's not my. I don't know. Who cares? Like,
do you find? So you're an entrepreneur, you're a content creator, you're kind of a social experimenter. Do you have a lot of people in your circles that are the same as you by way of like entrepreneurship and kind of doing their own thing, or folks that are like employed in organizations? They're like, what what's the ratio with the folks you surround yourself with?
Yeah, I think most of my friends, most of my acquaintances are entrepreneurs. I think
Mhm.
most of the people that follow me and in my community are
Yeah.
wanting to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Um,
You said
but
are
yeah, most of,
wanting to be entrepreneurs?
yeah, they're not entrepreneurs yet. Maybe they have a side hustle yet or
Yeah.
a side hustle, but they're not full-time entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But most of my friends are entrepreneurs, and just fun, man. When you see people doing what they love to do and living on their terms, it
Yeah.
just inspires you.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's possible, it's frustrating when you try to explain something or the way that you think you feel crazy because other people around you don't think that way. That was my life for a long time.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, that's not possible. You can't really do that. You need a job. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
But most people in my life are entrepreneurs and
Yeah.
significantly more successful than I am. So,
Yeah. Hey, we got to start somewhere. We all got to
exactly.
start. We all got to mess up, and bump along the way. For folks that are, like you said, wanting to be entrepreneurs, that are maybe employed in organizations and are thinking about how to make that leap, how to make that jump. You just kind of did it. Like, I'm out. Peace. Like,
It's because I had done it before, you know.
because
and I
you've done
knew
it
I could do
before.
Yeah.
Yeah. What word of caution would you give to folks that are kind of in that space? I'm employed, I'm in an organization, but I'm thinking about entrepreneurship and I want to pull the trigger. What would you share with them?
Yeah, I think there's a couple big ones. Two things that I missed a lot, 3 times to be exact, with 3 different companies before.
Because you
this one.
measured and you documented
Yes,
and you remember. Yeah.
Exactly. Number one, if you want freedom, which is the number one thing that I hear from people, I want to start this because I want freedom. I want to be a creator because I want freedom. I want a business because I want freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Being an entrepreneur is not freedom unless you
Mm.
build it in a way that allows you to have that freedom, which is pretty hard to do. Not even hard. It takes hard work. A lot of people, when they launch a company, let's say it's service-based, they launch a service based off a skill that they have, but that skill set and the offer that they have is a commodity. It can be replaced easy. A lot of different people do it. You have a marketing agency, which is what I did 2 different times. That's 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
2 different times. Hey, the first, we will do video services for you.
Yeah.
Everyone does video services. There's
Yeah.
nothing special about that. The only
Yeah.
thing that made us special, the only reason we were really successful is because of the personal brand that all of us had. I had. Right, like the influencer, like one of my other founders at the time featured in Vogue. Like we were dope. That's what made us successful. That allows us to charge more.
Yeah.
When you have a commodity service like that, you're like always valued against like what other people do. Like if their prices are low, your prices have to drop down because no one's going to pay for it because anyone can do it.
Yep.
But if you do something that is so unique or so like, damn, like, hell yeah, I want that. I want to hop on because you do experiments and you break it down like this and you get us to this and you show us all the mistakes that we made and why, like, excellent. Like, if you have something that's so unique, you can charge whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's freedom.
Yeah.
Versus $700 for video editing or $3,000 and we'll come in and we'll shoot like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But unless you build it in a way where you have the autonomy, like you're going to work yourself back into a job. That's what I did. And that sucks.
Yeah.
Like I want to play video games midday. I want to practice snowboarding. Like that's what I want. I'd say that's number one. That's the most important thing. And I think along with that, just knowing what you want your life to look like. Maybe you do just want to do client work all day, go home, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's dope.
Yeah.
You want to work 80 hours a week instead of working 40 for someone else. That's cool.
Yeah.
Outside of that, just caution is that like shit happens, like COVID,
It do.
BLM, like my world was turned upside down. Like family members, like shit happens. Like you get sick. Like when you have a job, like it's nice, you know.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I need
It's
the
like
day
at least
off.
next week
like,
a check is coming.
like, yeah. Like when you are the boss, like having to lay off employees was one of the most painful things for me.
Yeah.
Telling someone that we're not going to reopen, you know, the most painful thing. Clients saying like, wow, we're not happy because this didn't get done on time. In the midst of COVID, you're dealing with all these things, but like that's your client. You didn't take care of it. Having to like, it's tough. Shit happens.
Yeah.
It's going to happen with me in my business now, you know, but Yeah. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, but you can build it in a way that allows it to be more sunshine
Yeah,
and more rainbows.
yeah. More sunshine, a better ratio of sunshine uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
to shit clouds. But that's good, man. I think the call out of the freedom, because folks, it is true. Like the corporate world is shackling, and like it's limiting, it's not letting me do what I want to do. And so on this other side, this oasis of entrepreneurship, this and I think it's reinforced by what folks see on social media, right? When they see these, you know, influencers, you know, traveling and cars and conferences and speaking, like all these things, and like that is the picture of entrepreneurship that folks have, and not really seeing like the grind, and like you have to work for it to get to that, right? You have to be intentional, and it's hard, probably hard, not even probably, definitely harder than whatever it is that you're doing, you know, from 9 to 5, because the buck stops with you. And you know, sometimes you're not getting, you know, fiscally compensated in that time. And so and you end up, like you said, you're going to end up back to where you started off. So being intentional about that. But I think that organizations that do, to your point, create an environment where folks can maybe scratch that entrepreneurial itch, right? If there's an idea, something that they are passionate about, that they can explore it, that they have support while still having that safety blanket of a, you know, biweekly check and, you know, reporting structures and things like that. But they can kind of explore, hey, I wanted to do this, I want to pursue this, and they have that support there. Selfishly, let me ask you this. So if you look at the podcasting world, right? So because I'm thinking now, when you talk about commodity and folks are doing videos, like there's like a million podcasts being brought up like every single day. Yeah. and folks are trying to, and unless, like you said, you're a Rogan or you know, somebody that's just like dope, it's a commodity type of thing. Is there any advice for folks that are in that kind of podcasting, even like course creation, like, you know, creating courses, doing podcasts? What are some ways that maybe you have seen, or maybe advice that you share with folks by way of growth and differentiating yourself to help combat that, or just find somebody dope?
Podcasting's hard, man. Podcasting is difficult. I think a lot of people think you get some big guests and it's going to help exponentially, but oftentimes those big guests don't share, and even if they do, it's a small little spike, and then you're back. You gotta retain them. Podcasting is a very, very, very difficult thing. That being said, there's a lot of opportunity in podcasting still, in my opinion. I think the biggest thing, if you're starting, but even if you're still going, is like, is there an actual gap, and is there an actual need for what you do? Like, again, it's if your show is just like easily replaced, if it's just an interview show and you talk about random things, and unless you're Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss, Lewis Howes, it's going to be very hard to do this broad thing and bring people in and convince them to stay, because there's already people that have been doing it for decade. They have huge budgets, like it's difficult, and they have a huge brand. So make sure your show, like, there's a need for your show. And that could be a lot of different things. Like, it could be narrative. Like, think about, like, what do you talk about? What's different and what's easily shareable, which is why I started mine when I did it. I don't do it anymore, but I'm thinking about doing like social experiments in audio format too. Like, what's going to get someone to say, like, damn, like, that's cool. I've never seen something like that. Like, Wondery's a good example. What's the other one? Is it Gimlet? Like,
I love
like
Gimlet.
Beautiful stories, and it's different. Like, how I built this,
curious,
right?
Like,
yes. If you could do something different, I think that's the most important thing, in my opinion. Different. Consistency is probably number 2, because most people quit too early. I quit. I've quit multiple times. I've had multiple shows, but it's not my passion, you know. Like, consistency. If you have dollars, there's ginormous opportunity right now, because not many people advertise, and most people are just using Facebook, TikTok, whatever. But like, if you're like doing it audio to audio, there's huge opportunity right now. consistency, difference. Outside of that, like I think self-awareness and knowing yourself and knowing what makes you unique. I think one great course, the best podcasting I've consumed. I'm not a fan of any courses really. It's I want to say no, it wasn't. It's either Gimlet or Wondery or one of those. Alex Bloomberg.
Yeah.
I want to say his. You know which one was he? Wondery or was
Gimlet?
he Gimlet? Okay,
He's
Gimlet.
yeah.
His course on, I want to say it's Skillshare. It's about like interviewing, but the way that he talks about audio, the way that he talks about stories and where they really come from and how you pull them out, one of the most beautiful things I've ever consumed. I think thinking about your podcast holistically, not just like let me hop on this and hope that this happens, but like how can I get good stories consistently? Not relying on the guests to pull out good stories, but me, how can I make sure I'm pulling these out consistently? I'd say consume that. That was extremely helpful for me.
That's on
it's something
Skillshare?
I still apply. I believe so, yeah. I can double check after this, but I believe it is Skillshare. Alex Bloomberg, and it's cheap too. Great course.
Yeah. No, I think, and for this particular, I mean, if we take this as a case study on adding value, you know, being different, you know, being consistent, and also being helpful.
Making people bark.
I think, like,
Making people bark.
Making people, right? Like that's like that, literally just like a gimmick. Like that's just, it's hilarious. I got to show you the TikTok. We had this one guy, like this grandpa at the mall. I was like, all right, give me your biggest rough. And my man like cocked back. And mind you, I'm holding like a fake microphone. Like this is all for the show. Like, so like I'm recording with my phone, holding like a fan. He like cocks back. And he's like, and like does like you did, like covers. He's like, and I tell you, like people in the balcony. I was at the mall. People in the balconies like turned around.
Yeah, it's good TikTok content.
It was epic. But also like helpful to people. Like the content is different. The content is consistent, but it's helpful. Like for me, what I'm thinking is like, hey, if I think of an HR leader or if I think of a people leader, like how do we help them do their job better? And their job is to retain their people, like lower turnover as the amount of folks that are leaving versus coming in, increase retention and increase engagement. Like those are the metrics that if I had a scorecard for how am I doing as a boss or as a leader, how do I help them make their job better? And having conversations. I think this one particularly for anyone that's listening is if you say you're an organization that encourages your folks to have that entrepreneurial mindset, like we're talking about folks that are thinking about, I have a passion, I have a skill, there's something that I want to do and explore and have autonomy on my own. If you're an organization that says you encourage that, how do you back that up? How do you give them the runway, give them the freedom from that? How do you create, like you talked about earlier, that abundance mindset, to be able to explore that? And that could very well be the thing that clicks for folks who are like, oh, okay, now that I know that company XYZ supports my, passions and thoughts and listening, to what those skills are and giving me opportunities to explore that, heck yeah, I'm gonna stay. Like I don't have to go and explore it and do these hard things by myself. Like let me stay here and do it. And I think that's the benefit there. But Q, how can folks get in touch with you? Like what's the best way that you love to engage with your audience, or how can our audience best engage with you?
Yeah, I'm a little old school, and a little new school too. I'd say subscribe to my newsletter, answer the questions that I give you on the confirmation email, shoot me back, I'll respond. Or two, if you want to, if you're interested in the social experiments, text me. I don't have the number memorized. I probably should, but I can send it to you, or it's on my website as well.
Yeah. Outside
of that, maybe LinkedIn, TikTok, but messaging isn't really good there, so maybe Instagram. But
yeah. And how do folks get on that? How do folks get to that newsletter? Is that just on the website?
QuentinAllums.com.
QuentinAllums.com. Very cool. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. That was Mr. Meaningful Work Retain with our boy Q with the hats. You guys don't see it behind his shoulders. I heard that, Roof. You see it behind his shoulders. My man has hats on he has hats on deck, on backup. In case this hat doesn't work, we can switch it out. Do you have a
See, it was
favorite?
like it's like a beige, probably the OG, the black one. But I've got a couple black ones now,
Yeah.
So, right now, I'm feeling the camel,
Yeah. I like that. It's like it's giving me. I'm sure folks say like this, the Curious George man in the yellow hat vibes.
That was my favorite as a kid, so I love that.
I am all for it. Like I think there was a time like his hat went off and like we saw the top of his head. Like the first time as a kid,
Did
I was
we?
like,
I
wait,
don't
what?
remember that. No.
Oh, that it was
Wow.
like it was a core memory for me. Like when the guy's hat like blew off and I saw the top of his head, I was like, wait, I didn't know there was a completion under there. So I'm sure that's how folks see you. Is like when they see you without the hat, there's like
Someone just said that. They're like, wait, because I had my cap on. They're like, can I see your hair? I did. You have so much hair.
you have so much hair. It's like, yeah, no, the hat is my hair. But guys, thank you so much. If you have any thoughts, any feedback, please let me know. Tim at MrMeaningfulWork.com. Connect with me on all the socials, LinkedIn, Twitter. Yeah, I think those are the main ones. Instagram, just Mr. Meaningful Work. But thank you so much, Q. We will catch everyone on the next edition of Mr. Meaningful Work. Retain. Have a good day.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and I would love to hear from you on what you found helpful from today's show, or if you have someone in your network that you would like to recognize or spark, shoot me a message at tim@mrmeaningfulwork.com, or leave a comment on the show content on LinkedIn, or send me a tweet at Mr. Meaningful Work. That's work with no O. Thank you again, and go inspire